My first question for you, what are the causes of the dramatic increase in the number of foreign fighters who come to join the Islamic State coming from the European countries? Why it happens now, and if the spreading ideology of the Islamic State might be the only underlying force, or if there are any other
factors.
Yes.
Well, I think you named it already, the spreading ideology of Islamic State. But the reason why this ideology is spreading now and spreading so quickly has many factors. And certainly one of them is the mistakes made in integration of Muslim immigrants in European societies. It's funny that between Great Britain, Netherlands, France, Belgium, Denmark, Germany, you have so many different strategies to integrate, and none of them has really been successful. I think some are better and some are worse, but none can be called a full success. And I think ultimately this increase in jihadist violence tells us that we have to take a new approach, and we have to become much more strategic, and we shouldn't expect results very quickly. This problem is going to be around for a long time, but we have to fight it on many fronts.
And how do you see in this context the future of European Muslim communities? How to prevent young European Muslims from radicalization into militant Islamism?
Well, I think we've got to offer people better perspectives. It starts with the labor market. If we have over-regulated labor markets, it's more difficult for young people, among them Muslims, to get a job. I think we also need active programs to fight discrimination or to counterbalance discrimination, special offers for migrant youth to gain professional skills and to actually have a perspective other than to wage war in the name of the Prophet. And then I think very, very important is that we recognize the need for immigration, but at the same time recognize the need to let people in that do not systematically disrespect the fundamental values of our constitutions, such as the right to life, equal rights between men and women, the right to choose the marriage partner, and so many other aspects of individual freedom. So if we get what's called parallel societies, areas in the big cities of Western Europe for the moment, in which these fundamental values are systematically disrespected, and where actually fundamentalist ideology, Salafism, takes over and actually becomes something like law enforcement on a local scale, then we're in danger. And these are the situations in which jihadists will grow and prosper. I'll give you one example from my city where I live now in Brussels. 6 metro stations away from my office, there's a neighborhood called Molenbeek-Saint-Jean. And in Molenbeek-Saint-Jean, 5-6 years ago, you had a group of pretty crazy-looking Islamist youngsters that called themselves Sharia for Belgium, and that took to producing video clips with the green flag of the Prophet in front of the Belgian Royal Palace and telling viewers that, hey, this green flag will wave over the whole of Belgium one day and so on. We will rule. No one took these guys seriously. They were just treated like frustrated teenagers. Well, today, about 45 of them have been tried in court in absentia while being fighters in Syria and Iraq with ISIS. See, that is what we get if we don't take this problem seriously. So, I would say that we have to become much better at integration, and we have to become much better at the prevention of radicalization.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your answer. The next one is, what should Europe do in order to provide security for its citizens?
I think the key is we need more cooperation between the national governments and especially between the intelligence agencies and police. This is something that cannot be enforced from above. I think it has to come, the will to cooperate has to come from the member states. And it has to be based on trust. And trust, even agencies trusting each other with the information that is passed is something that can only be built up slowly. But we have to start today. So that's the main thing. Besides that, of course, as I said before, we need to take the problem seriously. I think we also have to recognize that there is a religious component in all this. I think governments on the national, on the regional, even on the local level, have to cooperate much more effectively with Muslim communities and with their organizations. And so on many levels, we have to try to prevent the radicalization of youngsters so that we have fewer jihadists that want to kill our citizens.
Are there any other challenges to Europe's internal security besides the rise of militant Islamism we can see nowadays?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I think there is a risk of social instability by the sheer number of refugees that we have now. I'm deliberately using the word refugees because this is not the classical migration of people going to a different country to look for a job. This is people who are desperately fleeing from countries which can be called failed states, where there's either civil war or the total collapse of government structures, total failure of societies. So if that is so, then we get so many people at the same time, and we know that this is a development which is rejected by a great number of our own citizens, then I think we have to consider this development a risk to the stability. It's not the same kind of threat that terrorism is, obviously. But I'm afraid this problem too, will remain for a long time because the conditions where these people come from will not quickly improve. And we have to work on this as well. And actually, I mean, it concerns many more people than the couple of thousand foreign fighters that are coming from Europe. Mm.
So in this context, my last question is if you think that, conference of such a kind we are having here today on internal security issues is important.
Oh, sure it is important. And it's very important that it's taking place in a Central European country. Because, we've had these debates in Western Europe for a long time. We've been faced with jihadist violence for 15 years, some countries like France even for longer, 20, 25 years. So, but for this region of Europe, it's a new thing. And I think it's about time that you started discussing this. Not only because we're all in one union and, our problems in Western Europe are your problems too, but also because we are beginning to have nationalist and xenophobic and anti-Islamic reactions here in the Czech Republic. We have the suspicion that with the refugees from Africa and the Middle East, there will be also terrorists coming in. And a country like Poland had its first so-called honor killing, killing a Muslim woman because she allegedly disgraced a family in 2010. So that was, I think it's good that countries in Central Europe are beginning to deal with this.